Good morning, everyone. Yesterday, Aaron O'Toole was in speeches in the House. He was doing all sorts of releases like this, and Kanzak release in just a minute we're going to have a look at. And others too. And people were criticizing, and whatever, it is what it is. The first one, Aaron O'Toole says, I don't think Canada needs another slogan. It needs a plan. Do you agree? We need to build back stronger. And the only way that can happen is with a united country. Isn't that a slogan? I don't think we need slogans. Here's my slogan. For the NDP, being the Liberals' junior partner may come at a cost. It's good to be in a position to demand concessions, but it doesn't always translate into votes. I was going to read this article, but it's kind of boring. It's just kind of a history of the NDP and how to use their balance of power and what Jagmeet's doing with it. And the hypothesis is that it doesn't always translate into votes. And I mean, he makes his case. It's an all right article. It's just a little long. Here is Aaron O'Toole basically making the party pretty much what it was under Andrew Scheer, right? Like Kanzak was supported by Scheer. There's a lot of stuff in the speech that O'Toole talked about yesterday that is a lot like the Conservative Party under Scheer. So are we just going to pretend that it's the leadership that makes the difference, that the populists rejected the leadership, or is it the policies that make the difference? I think that maybe if the government were to fall, O'Toole might do better than Scheer. And Scheer won the popular vote, so he didn't do badly. He just didn't beat Trudeau. And he increased the seats in the House and whatever. Is that a problem because the messaging didn't get out far enough? Is that a problem because it didn't resonate? I think it didn't resonate because a lot of what people wanted to hear was being said by Maxime Bernier, and that was being called racist by the media, etc. And regardless of that, that's important. But they're pushing the Overton window. But Scheer played the game and tried to play their game and lost. And their slogan is build back better. Why are you trying to play their game? Why are you trying to play their game? They set the rules, right? So the second you start to catch up and to beat them at their game, they'll change the rules, right? It's like they're saying you have to disavow white supremacists while Antifa is burning down Portland, right? They're trying to get the president of the United States to disavow white supremacists, which he has done multiple times all through 2016. I think there's like a compilation of Trump disavowing David Duke and white supremacists and the KKK and all of the. He's like, where are they? Who are these people burning down Portland? Are they waking people, hotels full of patrons up at 4:00 in the morning, calling them privileged? That's not happening, right? Like the left is doing that. Antifa is doing that. And nobody's asking Joe Biden to disavow Antifa. Nobody's asking Mr. O'Toole to disavow Antifa either, right? So, I mean, like, it's interesting. It's interesting that the left can smear you and say, oh, the white supremacists are the worst thing ever, while their terrorist organizations, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Marxist terrorist organizations, continue wreaking havoc all across the West. I think that it's disingenuous. I don't think you play their game because you don't beat them at their game. You have to be honest with people. There has to be conviction. I think O'Toole has conviction. I think he's got a lot of honesty. I think he makes a difference as far as leadership goes. I don't think people took Scheer seriously. I don't think they thought. I don't know. I don't think they took him seriously. The Dimples maybe. I'm not sure. But I think that it'll play differently, especially with all of the scandals with Trudeau. But still, he's not hitting Trudeau on the scandals, right? I haven't listened to the speech. There's so much stuff going on. I haven't got to doing the speech, and I'm busy, so I apologize. I haven't listened to his first speech in the House. I was going to make more of it because a big deal, new leader, blah blah blah. But still, I haven't had time, so I apologize. But this stuff makes me think that it's the same old party. And does the leader matter that much? He's not a Trudeau, right? Trudeau is magnetic for whatever reason. He's very, very divisive, right? Either you love him or you hate him, just like his father. But he's got a cult of personality, right? And connections too, right? Bronfman connections. We'll talk about that later in the show. But is Mr. O'Toole able to go up against a personality cult like Justin Trudeau? And just make no mistake, Justin Trudeau is as much of a personality as Trump, right? Like there are people in the United States who aren't living under Trudeau who think he's a good leader for whatever reason. There are people in Canada who think that too. So I don't know. I don't know if changing the leader of the Conservative Party but keeping all the policies is going to work out for the Conservative Party. I don't trust them, so I hope it doesn't. But, I don't know. I don't know. What are you going to do? Peter Hitchens says, here is speculation over why CANZUK, why the unending conservative support for it. It creates a navy, right? All of the more reasons. So this guy is saying, does Britain rule the waves? And this guy says no, especially since so many of our tiny fleet is in fact motionless and unusable. And he says, and somebody else says, all the more reason to have increased cooperation between CANZUK Royal Navies with their shared interest, values, heritage, and structures. The combat fleets of the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand would do much to correct the individual deficiencies as well as expand global reach. That tickles my brain. Weren't they trying to make a UN army, right? Are they trying to just piece one together with piecemeal agreements like this? And could that be a viable useful thing for somebody? I'm not sure, right? Interesting stuff, interesting maneuvering. Washington Post is reporting, moving on. Trudeau says he wants to tackle systemic racism. JJ McCullough writes, he should start with reforming bilingualism. I'm not going to read that article, but here's another article. This one's written by a Black Canadian, I believe. Where's the article writer? Hold on. Says so just above the byline here. It's an opinion piece from the National Post. It says, playing racial favorites is not the best way to fight systemic racism. As a Black businessman, I should probably be thrilled by the new Liberal government program. I am not. The Liberal government has announced plans for a Black entrepreneurship program that will work with banks and other lending agencies to provide loans and other support for Black business people. The program is supposed to address serious obstacles encountered by Black entrepreneurs in attempting to recover from the coronavirus pandemic, grow their business, and start new ones. These obstacles include lack of access to capital, networks, and mentoring. The reason Black entrepreneurs face these challenges more so than other business people is supposed to be due to systemic racism. The government's proposed solution, a special program targeting the entrepreneurs alone. As a Black businessman, I should probably be thrilled by this. However, I'm not. In fact, I oppose this and any other race-based preferential system to address the challenges faced by Black entrepreneurs. The purpose of this article is not to question the rationale for the program or to doubt the good intentions of the government. What concerns me is that a race-based program like this, whether successful or not, is unlikely to garner long-term public support because it is divisive and will be seen as the government playing favorites. I feel this especially acutely because of this sort of program would not go over well in my extended family. In fact, I can see it being a threat to my family's cohesion and happiness. No doubt this may sound strange, but let me explain how my family could be negatively affected by such a program. When my extended family gets together for major holidays like Passover or Thanksgiving, we are a microcosm of 21st century Canada: Black, white, Chinese, Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, and atheist, immigrant, and native born. As I said, when we sit around the dinner table, we look like Canada. I was born in Jamaica. My wife, who is Jewish, was born in Canada, and both of our kids were born in Taiwan. In fact, our oldest son is ethnically Chinese and was adopted in Taiwan. I have a small business, as did my father-in-law, and as do a couple of my brothers-in-law. None of us have benefited from special government loan programs. If my youngest son, who has a small business, was able to get a loan and other government support simply because he looks Black, the rest of the family would be happy for him, but they would have questions. I could see my Chinese sister-in-law pointing out that while it's great that he can get a loan, it's not fair that his brother, who looks Chinese, cannot benefit from such a program. My wife's older brother, who is also adopted, looks South Asian. He has a business and has never benefited from special government programs. He would also congratulate my son, but he would wonder why neither his nor his kids could get preferential treatment based on their race. And then there are my son's white cousins. They also would be left out of any consideration or for special government programs simply based on their race. And I have no doubt that someone would point out that while everyone around the table pays taxes to support a program like this, only I and my young son could benefit from it. Not appropriate, right? Basically, the result of the government's good intentions would be to leave my family with a strong sense of unfairness of this particular solution to the problems encountered by Black entrepreneurs. I would agree. I think it's, I've said before, from education to support in education to academic support and brilliance groups to employment and assessing job performance and promotion. Your race shouldn't come into it. Like, what color your skin is shouldn't come into it. If it comes into it, you've done something wrong, right? If you're sitting there going, guy's a little white and male, little white and male, bottom of the list, white and male, that's a problem. That's a problem. If you're doing that about any other race, it would be a problem, right? Oh, too female, little long hair, bottom of the list, white female, right? Is that incorrect? Bottom of the list, black female for whatever reason, too dark pigment of your skin. Is that wrong? Then why is it okay to do it for white people? I don't understand. I don't understand the rationale. There was a time when we strove for equality and under the law. Everybody was equal, and it mattered more what you did and who you were than what your skin color was. And maybe that's my naivete or the idealism that I was brought up with, but I thought we were closer to that in like the early 2000s than we are now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think this is helping. And I don't think the government reinforcing it is helping either. Here's another weird situation. Global news, contractor fired following racist incident during Edmonton's school smudging ceremony. There was I'm not going to read this. I'll leave the link in the description for you. There was a smudging ceremony at a school. There were construction workers, and apparently they were yelling and turning on the engine and revving it on a construction site that was close to the school during the smudging ceremony. I think maybe people are projecting. I don't think this unending diet of propaganda about everybody being racist all the time is helping people. This ended up with, they wanted the whole job site fired. And the construction company responsible was like, we fired one guy because, okay, maybe he wasn't being appropriate and the investigation's ongoing, but it's not fair to fire the whole job site. We're not doing that. You know, the woke left are coming for you, right? And if they can't get you, they'll get all the rest of your coworkers. It's wild. It's wild. Here's another one. This is the mayor of Edmonton. Okay, this is the mayor of Edmonton, Don Iverson. He says, Mayor of Edmonton, city building for the next generation in the heart of Treaty 6 territory. Racists are not patriots, and hate speech is not acceptable in Edmonton. White folks aggressively spitting all lives matter inelegantly proves the point that Black, Indigenous, and people of color lives have not yet been universally afforded equal value in our society. Stop it. What mental gymnastics must you take to come to that conclusion? Like, we live in a society that is accepting and willing to live side by side with everybody who wants to live by our values and the values of respect and personal freedom and personal accountability, fairness, right? Freedom, that is the point. And if you want to live however you want to live in Canada, you're welcome to do it, so long as you don't infringe on my right to do the same. And this is insane, right? Like, if we don't kowtow to the woke new culture, then we're the white supremacists that they keep telling us are everywhere. You know why they keep telling us they're everywhere? Look in the mirror, right? That's what they're saying. That's the point. That's crazy. That's not acceptable from these elected officials. I had another one too, but she wasn't talking specifically about racism. She was doing more classism. And I don't know if it was another Edmonton politician saying that we have to take the wealth from the billionaires and millionaires and redistribute it, basically. And I was like, I don't know. That's wrong-headed, and it's more division based on more just ways to divide people. It's not acceptable. Here's Patty Haydu, and she says, this kind of sexism and racism is unacceptable in our society and unacceptable in Canada. Canadians deserve better from Mr. Sloan and Mr. O'Toole. This was sent yesterday, 23 hours ago. 23 hours ago. And, well, I have like a whole separate video about COVID, but Miss Haydu is the federal health minister. She's the Canada's Minister of Health. And she's more focused on Mr. Sloan. 157 days ago, Derek Sloan questioned CPHO Canada's Dr. Tam's allegiance to Canada. And 35 days ago, leader Aaron O'Toole said he would speak to him about it. So Aaron, what happened? He spoke to him about it. They've moved on. Wait, why are you worried about this, Miss Haydu? Why aren't you worried about the fact that lockdowns don't help, right? And why aren't you worried about this? Here's the Hill Times reporting lapse in early pandemic warning system, a colossal failure, says former federal Liberal Health Minister Dosanjh. Sorry, I forgot that wrong. I've definitely got that wrong. We would have been better prepared. We would have had far more robust tools at our disposal had we not put GPHIN to sleep, says former health minister. I'm failing. Former health minister, whose name is in the linked article. But we're going to not read that article right now. Here's another one. Ottawa turned off the wrong tap on pandemic surveillance, former intelligence advisor says. This is from today from the Globe and Mail. As the government launches an independent review into the decisions that crippled Canada's pandemic surveillance unit, In early 2019, the situation has exposed a critical lack of understanding among public health officials about what constitutes intelligence, according to Greg Fife, a former director of the Intelligence Assessment Secretariat. I think the wrong tap was turned off, said Mr. Fife, who headed the Secretariat, which was responsible for strategic intelligence reporting across the government from 2000 to 2008. It's almost incomprehensible. His comments reflect a growing frustration inside Canada's intelligence community that senior public health officials did not appreciate the value in advanced warning and surveillance before curtailing operations of the Global Public Health Intelligence Network, or GPHIN. For decades, the unit was relied upon to detect problems early and provide continuing surveillance of outbreaks as they worsened to help speed up government decision-making. In cases where foreign governments are inclined to hide or play down an outbreak, analyzing signals from social media, internet blogs, local news, hospital data, people on the ground, and other sources becomes essential to assess the real threat. However, GPHIN's operations were restructured several months before COVID-19 pandemic hit. GPHIN is now the subject of 2 federal investigations. Hold on, I'll tell you really quickly what they were investigating. Here's an article from August 2019. Late 2018, the analysts were told to focus on projects more valuable to the government's priorities. With no global pandemic threats in recent memory, the government shifted GPHIN toward domestic assessments such as tracking the health effects of vaping in Canada. Yes, that was a meaningful Jim look at the camera. Unbelievable. Are you kidding me? Gotta check out that vaping, right? Unbelievable. Okay, GPN is now the subject of 2 federal investigations. Health Minister Patty Haydu ordered an independent review into the oversight of the highly specialized unit after a Globe investigation that detailed how its alert functions were silenced in May 2019. The Auditor General is also conducting a probe. With the Minister's office expected to announce soon who will lead the independent review, that decision is under heightened scrutiny. To understand the value of operations like GPHIN, the department must understand the importance of proper intelligence gathering and how it works, Mr. Fife said. The thing you're trying to do here is use every possible means to get as much information as early as you can, he said. In the case of a pandemic, you need every possible aerial up in the sky. GPHIN was created in the 1990s to detect and track outbreaks so that Canada could be better prepared for a pandemic. It became world-renowned for its ability to gather information on outbreaks such as H1N1, Zika, and Ebola, but several people inside public health, whom the Globe is not identifying because they are not authorized to speak publicly, have said a shift within the department in late 2018 and early 2019 changed how the unit operated. Analysts were told to focus on official information instead of working with informal information. When it came to the novel coronavirus, this meant prioritizing information provided by the Chinese government and the World Health Organization over potentially valuable clues from informal sources that might better indicate how aggressively the virus was spreading and what steps are needed to contain it. Such information, known as open source intelligence, was dismissed within the department as merely rumors, the analyst said. Shocking. It's racist, I think, too, right? To call it informal information, to call it informal information, I think, is extremely derogatory and extremely inaccurate, said Mr. Fife, who said an open source intelligence is critical in tracking other threats to national security, such as terrorism. It's very, very highly sophisticated form of information gathering, and it's extremely effective in getting at types of information that is not available through other means. GPHIN has become known internationally for its ability to use open source data, and at one point was credited with supplying the WHO with 20% of its epidemiological intelligence. A Globe investigation, in July reported that GPHIN analysts were told they could no longer issue alerts about international health threats they detected without first getting senior management approval. The alerts had been a crucial part of the operation's speed and were used to inject urgency into government decision-making, both in Canada and among many of its allies. As a result of the new edict, the alert system went silent, which has a cascading effect inside the department. Soon after, international surveillance and intelligence gathering activities were also cut back. Analysts were told to focus on domestic issues that were deemed more valuable to the department. Vaping. Canada's response to the pandemic has been criticized for underestimating the dangers of the outbreak. Throughout January, February, and March, and much of March, the federal government listed the danger posed by the virus as low in its official risk assessment, even after the WHO warned that the risk was high in late January and urged countries to prepare. The government continued reporting the risk was low for another 7 weeks and didn't implement strong mitigation measures until late March. The GPHIN situation may be further investigated from an intelligence standpoint amid growing concerns that the country's ability to identify, prepare, prepare for and monitor health threats is a matter of national security. Well, I mean, it's certainly a matter of domestic security, right? Like, if nobody could ever go back to work again because, oh no, the COVID, then that's probably going to be a problem. There's going to be a lot more domestic unrest because you can't just pay people to stay home forever. Okay, I'm going to end my video there because the next part is really, really crazy, and I want to make sure that everybody understands. I'm going to do another COVID video because the Ontario stuff is nuts, and the Quebec stuff is even more nuts. Will I show you a teaser? Let's see. I'll show you a teaser.
Maintain a minimum distance of 2 meters between each of you, except for members of the same family who stay in the same place. Refusing to comply with this order will result in a fine ranging from...
There you go. There you go. It's crazy. So anyway, Patty Haydu. Patty Haydu is much more interested in dealing with racism than she is in dealing with the overreaching Quebec leadership and police who are threatening to fine you for being outside of your house. How dare you? Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com, check out CanadaReport.co, and check out the next video that will be up in, 20 minutes. I talk a lot. Okay. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.